Hello and welcome. How are you all doing? Very good. Good. Now, this is my first time hosting at the CMC, so any mistakes I make, you'll understand where they've come from. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to do a little spiel first to explain the setup of what this is. So, delivering first-class lessons and learning resources requires instantly capturing students' attention, keeping it, and entertaining them at the same time. But how do you go about developing entertaining content that truly engages children and delivers on the curriculum? Now, for today's session, we've got 3 fantastic guests, and they are absolute experts at capturing attention in the education space and teaching at an elite level. We will find out about how they're connecting with teachers and pupils, 3 very different approaches, and our aim for today is to leave you feeling inspired to think about your content and perhaps think about whether there is an opportunity for your brand in the sector. So, I'm going to introduce everyone. I'm going to start with myself. My name is Matt Green, aka the Rapping Science Teacher. And for those of you that don't know me, what I do is I take 1-hour lessons that used to take an hour lesson when I taught in a classroom, and I condense them into 30-second raps that are much easier for kids to understand, to digest, and to remember. In terms of my story, I was teaching in a school for class for 10 years. I opened a business about 8 years ago, a tutoring company, had 3 kids, and when things got complicated, I thought, let me start rapping to help kids learn better. And that's what I've been doing for 5 years on top of running the company. The rapping has led me to some weird, wonderful, and interesting things. I've been on ITV's The Voice. I've worked with Marvel, worked with Samsung, flown around the world in the last year. And just the whole crux of it is to help kids understand and learn better. And being here as the Rapping Science Teacher, I thought I couldn't introduce what I do without actually showing you, right? I'm not sure whether the mic switched. Oh, yep, it has switched. So I'm going to introduce and give you an example of what I do. This is a lesson on the structure of the human heart. It used to take an hour in duration, but I think I can teach it to you in 30 seconds. And there will be a quiz after, so make sure you're paying attention. Are we ready? Yeah. All right. Cue it, please. When I was in school, I used to come last. Took me 10 years till I gained some heart. As we're on heart, now that's where we'll start. Let's dive right in, I'll tear it apart. 4 chambers, let's look at them all. 2 atriums and 2 ventricles. Left side's big and right side is small. Count with me 4 blood vessels. Let me explain to you how this works. Blood without O2 enters first into the right through the vena cava. Then it goes here, you see this atria? Now to the ventricle sharply. It's to get out the pulmonary artery. From there it goes to the lungs. It's got O2, so blood takes some. Then back to the heart again. This time through the pulmonary vein. Now the left side pumps way stronger and sends to the body out the aorta. I was very worried I was going to remember the words or forget the words today, so I'm glad it was in there. All right, so now on to our speakers. We are going to begin with speaking to Melissa Harding, who is the Senior Commissioning Editor, 7+ BBC Children's Horrible Science. Okay, so my first question is, how did Horrible Science come to be?
Well, the very clever people at Lion Television have made 11 series of horrible histories for us, based on the incredible scholastic books. And we've all had people who've been involved with horrible histories who have people coming up to us and said, we studied history at university because of horrible histories. And that's what an incredible privilege to be able to help people along that journey. So we've had our eye on the scholastic horrible science books for a while, and we thought, okay, well, let's try and do it for science, because I think with science, maths, some kids can really kind of cast themselves in the role of, it's not for me. Certainly my eldest daughter was like, I can't do math. I mean, quite dramatic. Can't do maths. Like, science, I hate it. So if there was a way of us having a similar effect on history as we've had, to do it with science, what we've done with history, that was a really tempting prospect. Yeah. So we thought, well, let's give it a go. And so we've just had the first series of Horrible Science land on iPlayer, all 15 episodes, and it's done really, really well for us, and so we're incredibly pleased.
Yeah, it's an amazing show. And I would say that because I feature in one episode.
You do. He does have a guest appearance. You do, don't you? Yes. And very good you were too.
Thank you. I tried my best. Now, unlike Horrible Histories, this series has been developed with curricular content at the heart of it. So I wanted to ask, why is that?
Well, it's a question of trying to give value to the license fee. We know how precious commissions are, and we would just want the content that we create. You know, it's an expensive show for us to be as useful as it possibly can be. So what we decided to do was have 5 out of the 15 episodes directly themed on Key Stage 2 science. So I've not got these written down. Working scientifically, materials and states, light, sound and electricity, earth and space, forces and motion. So 5 of the episodes were directly themed by Key Stage 2. And then also we took 25 of the sketches, and those are available on BBC Bite Size. And so the Bite Size people have put together these fantastic kind of student-facing resources with quizzes and clips. And then there's also teacher-facing resources because, you know, maybe teachers might say you can go and watch telly for your homework.
Amazing.
Which would be great. And then the next day they'll have a kind of lesson plan and hopefully get, because we're not in the business of sort of certainly on Horrible Science TV show, not formal learning, but it's this sort of, this is interesting. Actually science is everywhere around you. Just to try and spark a bit of interest by having people sing silly songs and trying to be funny.
Well, we know silly songs works. And the funny, that's great too. But it's amazing the terms of that it's been broken down curricularly, because from a teaching perspective, all teachers across the UK or anywhere, it helps being able to simply say, I'm teaching this, let me go on BBC Bite Size and I can find it here. It's amazing from an entertainment perspective having a show, but if you just can't find the bits you need for your course, it's going to be a bit harder. So I think that's great. Mm-hmm. In terms of writing comedy and hitting curricular topics, can you tell us about the challenges there, please?
Yes. So it all starts with some very clever person from Imperial College would do some research into a topic, and then we'd have writers' meetings. This is how it always works on Horrible Histories as well. And you have a writers' meeting, and they go through, all sorts of weird and wonderful facts, and then the writers kind of go away and brainstorm ideas and come back and pitch their sketches. And obviously, there's 2 rules. One is it has to be funny.
Okay.
It has to be horrible. So actually, that's quite a good filter in terms of that sketch doesn't work for that sketch doesn't work for that. So those sort of are the main things to consider. Also, we wanted to touch, what are the popular cultural reference points that we can touch, popular songs. We know that reaction videos are really popular on YouTube. So we've got Einstein doing reaction video, just to try and use any of those kind of visual vocabulary the audience are into, or any cultural touch points that will just make them feel that science is for them. It's accessible. It's funny. I might go, to spark their interest again and try and find out more.
And then in a few years' time, we're going to have some students that take science at university and say it's because I watched that show.
Well, to be honest with you, I'll retire if there's somebody, that'd be brilliant.
It's going to happen.
That would be my job done. But I would be so thrilled if that happened. Fingers crossed.
It's happening. It's happening. See, I find this stuff very interesting, by the way, because when I'm writing my own raps, I have 2 key criteria. It's not exactly the same as yours, but mine is this has to make more sense than saying it normally.
Okay, yeah.
And it has to sound good. So sometimes I write 8 bars. I think that's amazing. I'll go to sleep and I throw it in the bin the next day because it doesn't fulfill those criteria.
Okay.
So it's interesting. It has to be funny and it has to be horrible.
Yes, has to be horrible.
Okay. I might try and apply those.
A lot of toilet humour.
Can it be too horrible? Like, never go, oh no, that's disgusting.
There are some things where I guess I've got quite a high tolerance for just
what about
kind of a lot of toilet humour. That's absolutely fine. They think bottoms are hilarious. Poo, farting,
some of us still
all
do.
sorts of bad behaviour. I mean, that was the joy of Horrible Histories, in that they'd learn about Henry VIII at school, and then Horrible Histories would show them Henry VIII behaving really badly and stupidly. So so there's very few things that I think what we don't like is jokes that go over the heads of the audience, because you kind of think that's a missed opportunity to forget a joke that really lands with the audience. We don't kind of because there is some of that in kind of some comedy, which I think kind of is the joke at the expense of the audience because they don't quite understand the implication, the context. So we never do that.
So that's really thought about.
I get my red pen out and go, no, we're not doing that.
Okay, very interesting.
But most stuff, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it and find a way through it. But the writers are brilliant. They've got, there's an incredible writing team, incredible exec producers and producers at Lion, and they've got a very good sense about what works for the audience and what will they will find funny.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Very interesting. Okay, now in terms of my next question, I want to ask, how successfully do you feel you've balanced entertainment with education? Do kids see it as either, or do they see it as both?
Well, I think kids are quite sort of fact hungry, so I don't think they kind of think. I think it's quite an adult perspective to say, oh, it's too educational, therefore it's boring. I don't think. I think kids love facts that they can share in the playground. I think horrible science was much more difficult than horrible histories to do, because horrible histories, you've got Elizabeth I being a pain, being horrible to everyone. That's funny. In horrible science, it's like friction. Yeah,
you're not dealing with people.
What are we going to do? So we had to kind of create new characters and kind of try and find sort of new ways into the context. So it was much harder, and I think, in the script as well, there would become the bit in the sketch where we'd start calling it the science bomb, where someone kind of character sort of almost stepped out of character and going, well, just like a really formal explanation. So then it was a question of kind of going back, is there a way of making that explanation more characterful, sillier? They mime it? Or, just to try and make it not too on the nose.
Right, okay.
Just to kind of, it's an inspiration. It doesn't feel too lessony. And I hope we've managed to achieve that balance. We've had some very positive feedback from the audience on it, a big research project we've done on it. So
amazing.
I hope, fingers crossed. But we're learning and iterating. We're trying to make series 2 now, currently writing it, and we've learned a lot from doing the first series.
All right. I love that. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next panel member we have here, right over here, is Phil Birchnell, Senior Director of Immersive Content for Discovery Education. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
All right, we've got some questions. The first question I wanted to... Actually, I'm going to ask you to share this. We've got some stats here in terms of your reach, which I found absolutely insane. What's the number of students you're reaching in the US now?
Well, around the world, we're reaching 45 million students.
45 million, wow.
Which would be about 6 million educators as well. So that's in 100 countries, but the majority of those are in the US.
Wow. Okay. Congratulations on that huge number. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask, can you tell us in a nutshell what Discovery Education offers?
Okay. So basically, we're end-to-end learning platform, you could call it, in the UK. For any teachers in the audience or past teachers, you might have heard of Espresso. It's quite similar to what's used in the US. So we have a learning platform there called Experience. We have Mystery Science. We have Doodle Maths. We have Dreambox Reading, Dreambox Learning, Maths, Dreambox Maths, and we also do a lot with careers education in the US as well. Alongside that, we have a range of corporate partners. So we work with very large brands to bring their IP and their messaging and values into the classroom too. So we work with partners like Lego, Sesame Street, Honda, NASA, a huge range of partners, and we work with them to sort of allow them to have a voice and a presence inside education as well.
I'm really interested in the branding side that you just mentioned. So how would it work with Lego? So if Lego comes and contacts you, which they have, in that first instance, what kind of things do they ask, and what does that mean for the end product?
Well, it's really interesting with Lego. They're a really good example, because you'd expect them to come and say, right, okay, we're going to have a full STEM program, and it's all going to be about building things, and it's all going to be about engineering and everything. But it's not. We're not doing anything like that with Lego. We're actually talking about light pollution for birds.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Would never expected that.
I was going to say that.
You were going to say that. I knew you had it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're creating virtual labs around that. So we're looking at avian habitats. We're looking at about diversity around that as well. So we've got 4 virtual labs which we just released in the US, and Lego are really interesting to work with because they are all about the power of play. They understand that really what happens when you encounter a brick is not just, I'm going to build this. That's part of it, but it's just like, I'm playing, I'm learning, and lots of different ways. So there is a long thread between what we do with them and a child picking up some bricks to do something. It's there, but you wouldn't see it straight away. And that helps them an awful lot because teachers then are able to think, okay, I can use this as another way to engage with this.
Okay, very, very cool. Are you able to share some impressive stats about your market penetration worldwide, please?
More impressive stats.
Yeah.
Well, apart from the number of students we have around the world, I think, I'm not going to talk about the numbers, but I think what's really interesting is that when you do have that number of users around the globe, it gives you an insight into what they're looking for, and it gives you an insight into what's coming next. And there are no surprises here, absolutely no surprises. Short form video, if you think of Discovery and where we're from and everything, Shark Week is still the biggest week for us globally.
Really? Okay.
Shark Week is still a thing. But the consumption of videos is, of course, declining, or the consumption of longer form videos is declining, and a thirst for games-based learning, for gamification, for interactivity, all of those things that have been there for a long, long time, but I think is that the external pressures are growing more and more, that inside the classroom, you can no longer say, okay, class, take a look at the screen, this is what we're going to do, we're going to learn. You need to condense things. Teachers are time poor. So our stats and our data shows that very, very strong movement in that direction.
Very cool. Very amazing. And by the way, Phil has got something amazing to show us. I should have led with this, but I'm going to keep you in suspense whilst we go through a few more questions. You have a very unique and cool origin story. So I wanted to ask, how did Discovery Education get discovered?
Well, actually, I see what you did there. 6 years ago, I was here, and it was the very last day of me being my own company. And the very next day, we were acquired by Discovery to actually head up working on immersive content, which is they saw that as something that was the future.
It is,
it's one of those terms, isn't it? I'm sure we all talk about it. I bet it's got to be immersive, or this is immersive, that's not immersive. What does immersive mean? So how can you bring that to a large organisation that's got that reach around the globe and actually focus it and do something with it? So that's how we came to be here, and that's how I came to be in Discovery Education.
Really exciting journey, really exciting. In terms of that immersive content you mentioned, my question is this. It seems to be the mantra of any product developed by you. So immersiveness is a word we hear a lot. I'm interested to know how you view immersive learning, and why do you think that's key to your content's success?
It's both a help and a hindrance, and I'm sure it's shared by everyone here, is that when you talk about immersion, as I've just said, people interpret it in different ways. So what's immersive to someone is not immersive to someone else, and what does that mean anyway? I mean, for me, I always start off, in fact, I've developed an immersive scale to help us out along this journey, and if you go back to that first book that you engaged with that really made you think, I always talk about, in our brains, we have a green screen studio. And something sparks that green screen studio into life. When you read a book and you're hearing dialogue in your head, it's just leaping out from the page, you're imagining whole scenes that are being described to you by the author, you're creating that. And every one of us creates a unique version of that, and that is immersion. So when you're laughing on the cinema, when you're really into a book, when you're listening to music, you are immersed, you are there. And that's really important to understand what's happening cognitively to us when we are that engaged with content. And you can engineer that, and that's what we're about, is like, let's take that apart. Let's disassemble it and understand all those component parts so that we can understand that the science, the psychology, the philosophy, the art of immersion and what that means. And I think as storytelling, all the narrative mechanisms, all the things, and love to hear about principles, that you're talking about as well. It's like, why are we doing this? Actually, it's quite easy to engage children in the classroom. It's really hard to turn that into something that means that when you walk out the classroom, you know something you didn't when you walked in. Yeah. And that's a big deal. And that's a big part of what this is about.
I'm going to follow that up with a question that's pretty much impossible to answer. I'm going to ask.
Okay, I'll go now.
Which is, to anyone aspiring to to get into the space of making educational apps, educational resources, and to make them immersive, what is a mentality to apply or an approach to apply that can help facilitate that rather than being dull and not immersive?
I think Melissa and you, and I know James will as well, have already spoken about this, which is like it's the intention of what it is you're doing. So again, if you've got that cool thing, if you've got that great idea, if you've got that way of entertaining, how are you going to translate that into something that a teacher is going to consider it to be a no-brainer to take off the shelf and use? We all know as teachers, I'm from the classroom too, is that we are time poor, and you will not do something unless it's going to have that desired outcome. So make sure it does. Make sure it is aligned to standards. Make sure it's do the homework. Do, no pun intended, but do all that work that allows you to say that if you do this, you're going to move the needle. And if you're going to move the needle, teachers will lap it up and they'll take it and they'll do something with it. And the other thing as well, we talk about engagement in terms of children all the time. Engage adults too. Engage the teachers. One of the best comments I ever had was a teacher that was using some of our materials, and he said, "These materials make me want to teach." And I just thought that was brilliant.
Wow, yeah.
That's a big, big deal, because if you can do that, you know you're going to reach at least 30 children from that one teacher, and they're going to give your content everything it's got. It's going to reach its full potential in the hands of that teacher. Teaching is the thing. It's the thing that translates our ideas and your ideas into something that lands in a classroom via them. They are your TV set. They are your channel. They are your whatever you want to call it. They are the thing that's going to get your content into the classroom, into the minds of those children, so that when someone encounters it, they say, "That made me want to be a historian." 10 years ago, it was Time Team. Everyone on an archaeology degree wanted to be an archaeologist because of Time.
Yeah, I remember that show.
And if you can do that, if you can create that, that's affinity. Create affinity with your content. You know, move from engagement into investment by them, in investing their own time into something, you've won it. And then you can turn that into affinity. And the goal for me is to reach affinity with students, where it's not just about a subject, but it's about a love of learning and a love, that desire to just, that thirst to absorb things as well. And that's where immersion has got a role. And it's very fluffy and very woolly, but it works.
Well, there's a lot of golden nuggets in there, so thanks for that, Phil. Now, we've got to put everyone out of their misery. We're going to see this.
No pressure.
Yeah. We're going to show now. Actually, I'm not going to introduce it because I'm going to introduce it for you. What are we going to see? And let's get to it.
Okay. So I'm moving my microphone out of the way. So I'll speak into this while I'm preparing. I'm going to show you an app called Sandbox AR, and it's on millions of devices around the world, and it's used by many, many millions of students. And really, what this is an app we created to use augmented reality in live scale to replicate the kind of effects you'd get if you were in virtual reality, and that's really important. And I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to hopefully get this to work, and I'm going to show it to you live. So hopefully you can all still hear me, and hopefully this is going to appear on the screen. Yes, it is. Fantastic. Okay. Right, challenge one over. So what this is a maker environment. So think Minecraft, there's another brand we work with, by the way, Minecraft, really interesting. This is about making something in augmented reality. So you've got augmented reality, which students, everyone's seen it. There was a time, like 6-7 years ago, I remember showing augmented reality in a classroom, and a teacher looked underneath the iPad to check that the thing that she could see wasn't actually there. She looked around like this, and then she kind of went, "Oh, okay, this is interesting." I thought I was going to be burned at the stake, actually, afterwards. It was quite an interesting moment for them to see. So, okay, I'm going to show you a true BBC style, one I made earlier. So let's look at Maya, I think. Maya's really popular. So I'm going to just pop this on the desk here.
Ooh.
Okay. So this is something that's made from about 30 different components. So I put this together, and any child could do this. And they just build it, move things around. I'll just show you how it happens. So if I tap on that, I can transform it, I can scale it, rotate it, move it any way I want. And everything, every tree, every blade of grass, everything on there has been assembled and put onto this thing, which is very cool. And you can take pictures and you can add to it. And to say, in fact, there's about 1,200 different models from different subjects that you can use. And I can take a video of it here by pressing the red button there, a screenshot. I can record my audio. I can narrate it. And that's all great. But it has a trick up its sleeve. So I'm just going to exit that. And I'm going to put that down here instead. I'm going to just put it here. Okay, and place it about there. And then I'm going to scale it up. And that's the thing. This is the thing that teachers love. So now, forget games controllers, and obviously it's very difficult displaying it in here. But now I can go for a walk. And we've also included people occlusion in this release, so you can see that actually that's quite something to do with augmented reality, to be able to put something in front of it as well. So you've now, what have you done? You've given students a CGI studio, a virtual studio for them to play in. So to go along with that, what we've done as well is we've put a green screen mode in there as well, so they can start to shoot. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Wrong shot.
So you can now use that, and they can film themselves. So a tripod with something like this is a really powerful thing to do. And for those of you that are purists as well, yes, we do have a blue screen as well in case. Because if you're using foliage, it doesn't work. So yeah, with different backgrounds. And this is actually one that we use for under the sea. So this has things that can come out at you under the sea as well. And
I'm scared now.
This is something we did in the US. This is the Oregon Trail. This is right at the midpoint of the Oregon Trail. Okay, so there we go.
Phil.
So that's using Sandbox. And again, this has had
really cool.
a fantastic development in the hands of the users. Saw a giraffe in your thing, and they were measuring it. One of the great things that happened, we saw a video from a school in London where they'd put a giraffe in the hall, in the school hall, and had the children next to it. And because we didn't have a measuring tool, they said, okay, so we measured it. There was a child, a year 6, called Mohammed, and they had Mohammed stood next to the giraffe, and they were working out how many Mohammeds a giraffe was in height, and things like that. And it's just fantastic to just see how they use it and how teachers use it. And we get great feedback from teachers as well. So, for example, Maya is taught in lots of year 3, year 4 classrooms. And one head teacher said to us, it's like the children now talk about Maya civilization, not from their experience of books, but as if they've been there. Now, if you think of the writing that you get from children, when they think they've been there, they've experienced it, because what's happening here is we're tricking. This is all about trickery. This is all about, as I said before, understanding that immersive impact of like what happens when you encounter this is that actually a doorway opens in the mind, and you want to know. And it's up to the teacher, it's up to us as providers of content, kind of step through that doorway in the mind once we create this cognitive trigger and deliver the learning materials as well. Okay, I don't want to go on because I know we've got other people to talk to and other things to show, so I'll stop it there.
Can you use it like to go inside other things? Like if you wanted to explore a toaster and see how it works?
Yes, yeah, you can.
Is that a real specific urge of yours?
Yeah. How do toasters work, man? It's magic.
We've got things like Viking longhouses. We've got other things, and what you've just described, like the heart and stuff like that. Oh, wow. One of I go to lots of shows and conferences, and the number of hearts and eyes I see. And you said something really important before, which is like your principles of why you do it. Don't do it. It's like, well, we don't do things like hearts and things like that because it's well served. And you're actually looking at a diagram is perhaps better sometimes, or it's not. It doesn't move the needle enough to warrant the effort required.
Yeah, okay. Well, I thought that's phenomenal. I love AR. I love, My middle child, my youngest son, would have absolutely loved that specific because he.
Well, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's free to download and keep. There's no restrictions on it, so please, Sandbox AR, do use it and play with it.
Oh, I know what we're going to be doing at home for the next few days. Okay, so we are now moving on to speaking to James Blake Lobb with Avalon Entertainment, co-head of Taskmaster Education. Right, James, well, like Phil and myself, we all used to be school teachers, but I'm going to lead with my first question, James, which is, can you tell us what Taskmaster Education is?
Yeah, sure. So I'm assuming in a room full of people in the media, we know what Taskmaster is the show, you know that. Good. I don't want to presume too much. We take the format of the show and use it with children, basically. So we get children to do all sorts of different tasks, some of them exactly from the show, some of them based on the show, some of them completely nothing to do with the show. But we use that format of them working in teams to develop teamwork, problem solving, reasoning, creativity, and then we judge them mercilessly on how well they do it and pass judgment and dish out points. So yeah, that's sort of the premise, I suppose.
Very, very cool. Now, you got a very interesting story.
Thanks.
How did Taskmaster Education come to be?
So if we go back about 8 years, I was, like you say I was a primary school teacher until very recently, and it was anti-bullying week. And me and my then head teacher were talking about what we're going to do with my class. We didn't really feel like we had a particular bullying problem in the school, but we weren't that keen on the way the children interacted with each other. It wasn't very positive. Okay. They were delightful to us. They know their manners, but they're actually they can be quite rude to each other. Okay. I'm sure that doesn't come as a massive surprise if you worked in schools. But we wanted to do something that worked on that positive communication and teamwork, and it was on Dave at the time, Taskmaster, so we'd been enjoying that, so we thought we'd give it a go. We did a week of tasks with my class, and the outcomes were fantastic. It did develop teamwork and problems and positive communication, but also lots of other soft skills that we weren't expecting. I wrote a little blog about it. Alex Horn, the show's creator, saw that, and one thing led to another.
That must have been a great moment.
That was quite, that was good.
Yeah.
He did a little video saying anyone who's doing who wants to use Taskmaster with children should follow these rules by James from West Sussex Schools. Yeah. And that was it was great. But a year later, he then came. The next time we did it for Anti-Bullying Week, the next year, he came and did the assembly at the end. So Alex came and...
He actually came?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He came and did an assembly in the hall and got the kids up and doing tasks, and it was awesome. And he left saying, it's been a pleasure and I'd love to work together again sometime. I'm sure, of course you would. Great. Assuming that was that. Here we are. Then, sort of a little while later, Ali Struthers at Warwick Law was using Taskmaster as a way to engage Year 5s specifically with law, because it's all about interpreting tasks in different ways.
Right. Okay.
That's her angle, and she's sticking to it. But she was looking into Taskmaster with young people and Googled it and found me, and so we spoke a lot, and I helped her develop her program. And because she's a proper institution, Warwick University is a bit more serious and big than my tiny primary school. She thought she'd better ask for permission, so spoke to Avalon and said, do you mind if we use the IP for this? We're doing good. And they said, that's absolutely fine, but we'd love a chat.
All right.
So they called us in, and we sort of talked about how, because they were seeing, right, Alex particularly was hearing, but they understood, Avalon understood that there were teachers using Taskmaster with young people, but it's not an area that they have any experience in. So they called us in, we had a chat, and we talked about all the different ways I imagined that it could be used. It could be a game, a live show, a kids' TV version. There could be after-school clubs or books or quizzes or whatever. So lots of things we spoke about, and essentially they said, that's great, but we don't know anything about education, so will you run it? So, hey, golden ticket. So, me and Ali then set up Taskmaster Education, and I was doing that. We've both been doing that for sort of 3 years while seconded from our main job. So until Easter, I was still a deputy head at a primary school, and then now I'm full-time Taskmastering.
Wow.
It up. Yeah,
that's an amazing journey.
Backstory.
Amazing. Very cool. Okay, so what strengths did you see in the format in particular as a teacher when you first saw it?
So originally it was very much, like I say, teamwork and positive communication, and that absolutely was true. Beyond that, creativity was a huge thing. Giving the children space to fail, to come up with their own ideas. Yeah. I was watching. Oh, this was great. I was watching it. One of the best bits of my job now is getting to go and see it in action in different schools. Yeah. And I was at school the other weekend. The teacher was saying, I have to stop myself from intervening. I was like, yeah, you really do. You really do. You really should. Because often with the curriculum, it's quite constrained. There is a definite outcome. There's a definite right answer in science or in maths or, we're all trying to build the same longboat and it will look the same and you all will measure this much and cut this much. So even in the more creative subjects, there is definitely a right and wrong and or perceived. And so we often as teachers, we're stopping these children from following their own ideas. But with what this teacher was particularly saying was great about Taskmaster Club was that the young people, they can just have a go. They're like, however they want to approach the task, because it's so random and so daft, there isn't a right or wrong, and they're communicating and they're continually correcting themselves. They had to get a pee in a hoop the other day. I was watching this, and some of them were building a ramp, but the lip was the wrong way, so it was getting stuck. And rather than having to tell them that, there was trial and error going on.
Let them make mistakes and work out for themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the learning from that is so much richer, right? So the creativity is a huge thing. Then there was things like reasoning and problem solving that we kind of, I guess, could have assumed, but also the public speaking side of it, oracy, has really developed, particularly with our prize tasks. So the young people bring in whatever it might be, whether it's the best thing with wheels or the thing that's going to make the people go, wow, whatever it might be. And they have to then explain to the room why theirs is the best. So no, let's not. I was going to put you on the spot. But the best thing with wheels, it might be like, I think it's the best thing with wheels is an ambulance, right? Because it saves people's lives. Good reason. Good. Or an aeroplane, because it lets us see the world and we can experience different cultures. Or it might be Toby's wheelchair, because it gives him independence, and then the teacher has to go, fair enough, Toby's wheelchair, I can't really argue with that. But they are...
It's an important skill.
They're really thinking about the reasons for it, but they're getting up in front of a room of people and they are passionately explaining their points. And so all of these, we call them soft skills, but really it's sort of like higher order stuff. It's what they're doing is so valuable. So, and in turn, that has a positive impact on self-esteem and confidence. So, again, all stuff that I kind of imagined would happen, or I'm getting used to it. The unexpected bits have been teachers telling me it helps attendance. Because on the days we've got Taskmaster, they're all going to be in. Great.
That is a credit.
But it's easy for us to convince a teacher that they want to have a go at playing Taskmaster. But head teachers and academy directors, when you say they have a positive impact on attendance, they really get excited.
You can't argue.
And in turn, behaviour as well, because they are learning how to communicate with each other in a more positive way. So they're seeing benefits in behaviour. And the one that really struck me recently that I hadn't really considered at all was parental engagement. So schools often struggle with parental engagement, particularly they call them hard-to-reach families. You must have heard this phrase.
Yeah.
They don't interact with these families at all. They don't really know what's going on at home. Set them a daft task and that they have to bring in next Tuesday. Suddenly you hear from the parents and, oh my gosh, you won't believe what Chloe's been doing. Oh my way. She's made a galaxy out of Smarties.
Could you give us another one?
Yeah, exactly, right. So they've been seeing these benefits that we weren't expecting at all. So those are the benefits. Crikey, I went on there, didn't I?
No, that was amazing. I found it quite interesting. I think there's a theme of like sometimes you have your standards that you set out, but then you get nice messages later, like the history one. Like I went into history at university because I watched the show, and in your case, attendance were up. Obviously, it might not sound the coolest, but if you're in teaching, that means one hell of a lot because it's so difficult to get attendance there. And that would be something I would hear. Yeah. And I'd be like, that would be a lot. And I get the similar things with rapping. I wanted kids to improve, and then I'd be inundated with messages saying, I was on a 4 and now I've got a 6. And I was like, I didn't necessarily expect these, but when you get them, it's proofs in the pudding and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So there was the strengths that you saw. Now, I've got a longer question here. The power of non-curricular topics, life skills. Actually, you've answered that.
Great.
So I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave that one. This is a good one. Any specific learnings about how such a successful entertainment format needs to adapt to the specifics of a classroom and embedding educational value?
Yeah. Okay. I made notes because I'm guessing you guys work in different media settings and freelancers, writers for different IP generally. And I suppose my biggest thing coming from my background and yours and Phil's is talk to teachers, because we know what we need in the classroom. So talk to the teachers, listen to the teachers about how you're developing whatever it is you want to offer, because I think the brand opens the door, and people get excited when, Taskmaster in school, yeah, we'll do that, that's great. But if the substance isn't there, if it doesn't have those impacts, if it isn't what it needs to be, then it's not going to last.
Yeah.
So I'd say talk to educators, actually, because teachers know what the resource needs to look like, but in terms of shaping your message about how to reach large numbers of educators, then you need to be making sure you're speaking the language of the senior leadership team, or the local authority advisor, or the multi-academy trust CEO, so that and that's ticking lots of different boxes, right? That's not just, yes, it's getting the pupil engagement and developing their creativity, but also when we talk about things like attendance improvements and behaviour improvements, that's playing to a slightly different audience, but it's having that impact. So definitely, when you're doing your research, either talk to teachers or employ one. And there's crikey, teaching is full of really creative, dedicated people who would like nothing more than to stop being a teacher. No.
Shame.
I don't know. we all did. Yeah, there is that. But yeah, sort of my other point around what you would do is make the stuff useful and usable. So if you're making lesson plans, make sure it's containing things that are useful and usable, and detailed but not too long. So
it's always a balancing act.
Yeah, the stuff that's in there's got to be really relevant. And if it is longer, then make sure it's like clearly signposted. So for us, we've included adaptations. We used to call it differentiation back in the day.
Yeah.
We call it adaptive teaching now. It's the same thing. But it's all about having those. How can you take that one resource and make it simplify it slightly so that all learners can be engaged and making progress, or extend it. We call it a twist for our lessons. But what adaptations can be made to extend the learning for the more able, or to make it accessible to all, so everyone is making progress as well. So make sure it's useful and usable. And I wrote listen again. Maybe that's just the same thing. Oh no, yeah. I've got a quote.
Let's hear the quote. Okay,
Quotes from Alex. I need, this book is about Taskmaster, but he says, so they've written a chapter about using Taskmaster with kids, and he said, reading that, it does seem extraordinary how far a simple idea can reach, and is a good lesson for me in the value of being open to suggestions and embracing enthusiastic people who want to get on board with a project. Also, mainly, nearly everyone likes having fun. So it's that same point about listening, isn't it? Listening to the experts, being open to ideas, and seeing where it might lead you. But
and that part at the end, fun. Sometimes it can be forgotten when we're planning lessons and we just want the kids to learn, but it's so important.
Yeah, I think we can call it engaging.
If
that's more palatable. But yeah, it is. It's fun, isn't it?
Or immersive. Immersive. Okay, so I think that leaves the floor open to questions to anyone on the panel.
So I currently write music for an app called Dewey.io, which is an app for parental engagement, sort of nursery level, sort of preschool reading and numeracy and parental advice. And I'm very interested in this show. I wanted to ask the question about the idea of making content easy and obvious for teachers to use. Is it worth making content that's easy and obvious for parents to use, and do parents use it? Could you make educational content that way?
Yeah, certainly from our perspective, our intention is to have everyone as a user and to think about those different use cases. So, but it actually starts with the teacher and with a very strong view of what the student is going to be doing, and that translating back, and in the way you've heard some stories here today about how it goes back into the home and how it goes back beyond that as well, and all those unintended consequences you heard about of being attuned to those, and also finding out how it lands in the home environment in order then to retune your no pun intended, your app and what it is you're doing and how that feedback loop continues. Just being constantly aware and using it yourself in those environments and watching it being used in those environments. So yeah, very, very much so. Yeah.
It's a question for James.
Oh, thanks.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about how Taskmaster Education works in schools, like how the model operates, and if you have any kind of future growth plans for the brand.
Thanks. That wasn't a plan, but it feels like one. So we didn't really go into that, did we? It is Alex Horn sets the tasks from the Taskmaster house, so it's all online, and the teachers or whoever's running the club, the Taskmaster, goes onto our website, purchases a series. They're hour-long sessions each. It began as an after-school club, but is now being used as interventions across primary, secondary, and the special education sector. It's a sort of the video is about 45 minutes long, but the sessions last about an hour. There's 4 tasks per session. Alex sets the tasks, and the children in the room are in groups, in teams, and the teacher becomes the taskmaster. So that's how that works. In terms of growth, at the moment we have Taskmaster Club is the tasks from one week to the next are very random, and the themes go all over the place. As they do in the show. So there might be some music task one week, it might be maths one week, it might be about plastic bags another week, it could be absolutely anything. Moving forward, we want to carry on with that, but also we've now got enough different component weeks that we can put together a series of music sessions or math sessions, so that we're going more curriculum focused, so to appeal to a broader range of educators. And then further to that, seasonal specials, so a Christmas week one, so you could do a session in the week before Christmas, so that people always say, like, oh, you're not even learning anything that week anyway, are you? But there's a little bit of that going on, right? But that's not, it's still really intense, and there's still a lot going on. So if we can add in some, yes, we're not maybe on timetable in the same way, but we can be still learning all these really important skills. So making it more seasonal. So yeah, that's where we're sort of thinking.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the Educational Resources Lead at Into Film, and one of those ex-teachers that got snapped up by the children's media industry. Questions for Phil. I used espresso in the classroom, so thank you. Wondering if you have any insights on the impact of AI on educational resource providers such as ourselves, and where you see that heading in the future.
Yeah, it's the question on everyone's lips, isn't it? And the answer I would give tomorrow would probably be very different to the one I would give today, because that's the speed we're moving at. There's no doubt about the seismic nature of the impact that is there, the potential for it as well. For us, it's about looking at how we can ethically use AI in our production processes. It's about how the interface between AI and the classroom, how that happens as well. So what's happening in schools around that, what AI they're using. I know of classrooms where children are regularly using ChatGPT, and that's having really interesting impacts on them. And also trying to weigh up the fear that's there, along with the new dawn element of this as well. So how do we make all this? And you'll notice that I'm not actually answering your question, because I don't think there is an answer to it. But I think, it comes down to, like, we have principles around how we produce content. It's about how do we weave those principles into how we create content and how we utilize AI. Walled garden approaches around generative AI for production things, for example. It's okay to use it in editing, but is it okay to create a video and present that as well? Because we work in this industry, in this sector, and we're very passionate about this sector. So it's every single day we are talking internally as a company around the globe. We are meeting about this, and even today we will be discussing some things around approaches and how they can be legally approved for us to use, and how they would be taken in the classroom as well. It's so difficult. We've got lots of people who are incredibly excited about it. I'm one of those people as well, but I'm also one of those people that's very nervous about it too. So no surprises there, and apologies for not actually directly answering your question. It's a very political answer, that, wasn't it?
We've got on the 7th row in the middle. I guessed 7. It could be anything. Yeah.
That's pretty good that you're able to do that.
It is. Yes.
Is 7th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. On it.
Hello, I'm Nikki. I'm from a company called Explorer. I hate to be asking this question, but my children's school are taking their entire pupils to do a sponsored walk next week here in Sheffield to raise money for glue sticks. So I'm interested in the panel's thoughts on, is it just free resources from now on for schools? And how do we get our IP in the classrooms when there's simply no money for pencils?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I'm itching my head. I'm itching my head on this.
Panel.
What's the question?
Well, license fee per free, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, everything we do, if you go to immersive.discoveryeducation.com, every single thing we do is free to schools to use around the globe. So you can use our resources, lesson plans, and activities there. But I also get that's the tip of the iceberg as well. And yeah, it's really, really difficult. And there's no escaping materials to take money to create. And giving them away for free is very, very difficult in a market that we all operate in. But yeah, absolutely take your point. And as an educator, yeah, hear it, feel it, totally.
And I think I might have an answer to this. It's not a good answer, but in my setup, my story, everything I've made, similar to Phil, it's been free for students to use, and it will always be free. I might spend 20 hours, and it used to be probably about £500 to £800 a video now to make them, because I make my money on the back end through sponsorships. So if people are making apps, being creators on social media, your bread and butter to provide to your audience, you might always be able to keep it free if you're going to make your money in a different way through advertising or sponsorship. So for me, it was 2 years of making zero. But then once we did hit big time, we started getting big sponsorships from Marvel, Samsung, Google, every big company, you name it. But that was from making quality content that could truly make a difference and help for a long time. And in those schools where you are having to scrape money together to get glue sticks, they can still use it because it will never be charged. So if you're trying to make something, that's something to bear in mind. Is it possible to always keep it free because you're getting money through sponsorships through the back end?
I suppose I'm the bad guy in this conversation.
Really recently I was a teacher.
And I totally get it. But as Phil says, it costs money to make stuff, and we all have to pay our own bills. From my perspective, I suppose we have followed some sponsorship models, and that's worked very well, and that's been hugely popular. When we're able to say this resource is available for free, we suddenly get an awful lot more interest. No doubt. So yeah, the more of that we can do, the better. We're also something that we do that I suppose would be useful to any of you is having different models, different routes to market. So we can either our club is either that the school can purchase it and use the resources, or if it's in a more other schools choose to follow a parent pay model, where so there's no cost to the school, just as your children might attend an after-school club, which you may or may not have to pay for. Some areas do, some areas don't. Some schools do, some schools don't. It might depend if there's an external provider coming in doing it. You might pay £5 an hour for your child to attend that club, or if they're going to football at the weekend or whatever. So we offer that flexible model, which means that either the school can fit the bill if they value it enough and see enough impact from it, or the parent can if the school wish to do it that way around, so there's zero cost for the school. So we've got flexible model is probably a better answer than just I'm sorry.
Okay, everyone, thank you very much for being here, for your time, our hosts, expertise and amazing answers. I think a round of applause all around. Thank you.